Well, hello and welcome to the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or the WinSIG, for Sunday, October 10th, 2021. I'm Hewie Poplock, and I welcome you to our meeting. I always post the items that we're going to cover at least a couple of days before. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I got them posted, and it's on hewie.net. And if you go to the WinSIG page, you will find the items that we're going to try to cover today. We're not going to get to all of them. And some of them I'm even going to, I may even cover at different times. But let's get started. The first two items, I'm not going to really spend a lot of time here because I've already done them and they're available online. So if you want to learn about magnifying and size text on the fly and the program Morphic, when you click on this, it will take you to the YouTube video that I did for Tech for Seniors on Morphic and changing the size of the text. And then Morphic itself, its website is here. You'll see the Morphic menu over here on the side. I hope you can see it. And I'm going to be using it because, for instance, if I want to magnify, I can click here. Click show, and then I can bring this up. So now you can really see what I'm talking about. Let's see, that's something on my screen on my Windows machine. There we go. So you can see that. And so the next item is how to access Windows 10 startup folder. So let's go ahead and click on that. And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to hide the magnifier for now. And this is the article. What I like to do is open it up in this program, which is called Print Friendly in PDF. And we can make it larger here. We can make the text, let's make the text 130, so it's a little bit bigger. And how to access the Windows 10 startup folder. These are the item. Windows 10 moved the startup folder out of the spotlight, but it can still be found if you know where to look. So let's startup folder versus settings app. To stop apps from starting when you sign in, you should probably use the startup apps screen in Windows 10 settings app. Just to show you what that means is we'll go here to settings and we'll look for startup apps. It takes a second for them to go out and populate, but it shows all of your startup apps and what's turned on or what's turned off. So if you've got a particular program that you feel that, you know, I really don't want it to start when I boot up my computer, I can click on it and use it later. You just click from on. When you click it, it turns it off. And here's one that's off. If you want it to start up, you click it that way. And again, if you want it not to turn on, you just turn it off. Very simple, very easy to do. So that's one example. If you want to make the application start every time, you do it that way. Now, how to open the startup folder. Here are two locations that you need to find out how to find the startup folder. One is determining the apps that start on your personal account, and the other is for all users. And so you just type in, I keep forgetting, I can't move that mouse over there. Personal user path, just shell : startup, and for all users, shell common startup. So what does that mean? Well, if you come down here, just type in shell : startup. And how do you want to open this? Let's see, that's not how I'm supposed to do it.
Anyway, I think you need the run command, Windows key and R.
Yep, that's what I was just realizing. It's the Windows key and R opens this. And let's do the magnifier. show, so it's nice and big. And then we got to come in here. And it was shell startup. I've done it before to test it. And I've got to turn the magnifier off so I can find things. And this is what we get. There's the startup. So there's what's in my startup folder. So, but if I go to the startup common and startup, so again, it's, oops, I didn't want to do that. Control Z doesn't get it back either. So let's close this a second and we'll then hit it again. What we want is common space startup. So we'll do that again, Windows R. And we're going to do shell common space startup. Oops. And I've only got one in there. So it doesn't show as much in mine. So that might not be the way to do it. I do like doing it from the start menu. The startup folder will immediately open and you'll see a bunch of folders, and I didn't. I guess they were in folders, but there's not a lot there. I prefer to go through the settings again, go to settings and just type in startup. Startup apps, and they're all there. A lot of programs, when you install them, it puts that information there, and that's where it goes. And it gives you an idea what's starting up. If your computer takes a long time to start up, you want to go in there and maybe see, you might have some programs loading you're not even using. And it would be a good time to turn them off or uninstall them if you're not using them at all. Okay, we'll come back to the WinSig here, close this. And 3 better ways to store your files than on the desktop. And you can see here a picture of a desktop cluttered. Looking like this. If your desktop looks something like this, I try to keep mine relatively clean. And I got an ad blocker on. So what I do here is I come here and go to this page, tell it no, and then refresh, and that goes away. So as an example, let me show you what my desktop looks like. I've got quite a few on here now. It's gotten a little bit out of hand. I've seen some that everything on the page is covered with icons, and it's not really handy anymore because you can't find them. Can't find what you're looking for. But let's go into this article and see what it's saying about it. Again, let's do this and make the text bigger. Now, the downside to desktop storage is the urge to save files to the desktop is understandable. It provides immediate access with a single click, which means it's tempting to turn the desktop into a de facto headquarters for storage. While it's okay to use the desktop temporarily for storage, it's likely to quickly spiral out of control and become a mess. Unless you are strict with maintenance, you'll eventually succumb to these issues. 1, there's usually no file backup. Many file backup programs ignore the desktop files by default. Of course, a decent backup program will let you include desktop files, but if you forget, then you're at risk of losing important desktop files. Cluttered appearance of a clear and distraction-free workspace leads to better productivity. And at the same rings true of your computer desktop. If the first thing you see when you log in is a messy desktop packed with files, it's unlikely to give you a positive feeling. Plus, you won't be able to properly appreciate whatever desktop wallpaper you have set. Also, it's difficult to navigate. Files often end up on the desktop for easy access. Perhaps it's a document you're working on over the course of several days if you want to find it immediately. However, this quickly mounts up and you're left with a desktop that's overflowing with files. It then becomes hard to find what you need, the exact problem you were trying to solve originally. And then also slow login. This problem mainly impacts network accounts, but having a lot of stuff on your desktop can mean it takes longer to log into your Windows user account. This is because it has to sync everything on the desktop before it can move on to something else. So one of the ways in which you can avoid doing that is you can use Windows libraries. Now, I don't use libraries, but it's still out there. It's not as prominent as it used to be, but Windows 10 does come with things called libraries. Essentially, these libraries group folders together so that you can see all the files in a single place. By default, your computer will have libraries for camera roll, documents, music, pictures, saved pictures, and videos. And I think I had deleted mine, and that's why I couldn't find them when I started looking. To access them, open File Explorer, input libraries in the navigation bar, and press Enter. And then I'll click Add to choose a folder and use the Optimize this library for dropdown if the library contains specific types of files. Libraries are excellent because they don't require any extra work. Instead of saving on the desktop, simply store your file in a folder of your choosing. So you will get something that looks like this, and then you'll have the ability to have libraries and have your files there. Similar to Windows libraries, but more ubiquitous, are folders. And there are various reasons to have folders. And you can have folders on your desktop with items in them to, again, make your clutter less. And then, of course, you can use cloud storage as well. And of course, desktop does have a purpose. It isn't great at storing a lot of folders and files, but it is good at hosting shortcuts. A shortcut means you don't have to navigate through File Explorer to find your files. Instead, you double click the shortcut and it immediately takes you there. So you can put different shortcuts. Now, it's telling you how to do it, but let's just take a look. So to create a shortcut, once you create a shortcut, you'll see a little arrow there. These are all shortcuts. It means those programs aren't here. It's a shortcut to that item. So let's say I go to a program, and let's just say PowerPoint. I can, if I know where PowerPoint is, I can just right mouse click, put new, and put shortcut. And then it's going to ask where that is. I may have to go find it. But let's go find a program. Okay, these are all my shortcuts that are there on my desktop. But so that's my desktop. I don't want to go there. Let's go to this PC. Let's go to, let's just do a document. Let's say, I don't know what I've got loaded here. Okay, here's a JPEG. I can just say, okay, take this one, and then and I'm going to say, okay. So that's the location of it. And then I say next. I can put what it is, test pick. Gosh, I don't know what it is, but we'll find out. And it now I've got a shortcut. All I do is double click that. It opens up whatever I made a shortcut to. It's not making a copy of it. It doesn't take a long time for it to load because it's just a shortcut. And of course, at any time, I can always delete it as well. Okay, let's take a short pause. See if there's any questions or comments. Hearing none.
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
So going back to the magnifier, I know you've covered it before.
Okay.
I use it all the time. I used it just now a lot because on your screen, it was very, very tiny. The nice thing about the magnifier is once you've got it up there, you hit Windows and the plus key and it gets larger, or you can hit it again, make it larger. If you hit the Windows key and the minus, it makes it smaller. The only thing is sometimes if you're doing a demonstration of some sort, you might not want your little mouse arrow always up in the middle of the screen. Is there a way, like in PowerPoint, you can set it up so that the mouse arrow disappears after a couple of seconds unless you're moving it? Is there a way to do that in the magnifier? Do you know?
I am not sure, and I don't believe so.
Okay. That was all I had.
Yeah, and of course, you can change the text size within Morphic as well as the magnifier. And if you watch my video, you'll see, and I do show that. I don't want to spend a lot of time with it today because I've already done it. But watch the video if you haven't seen it. So there's a couple of different things you can do. And the magnifier, as you notice, when I do show and I make it bigger, well, I'm not sharing my screen, so hang on here a second. Let me turn that off again and share my screen. And let's put something up there, and we'll put up my documents folder, because this is, when it's like this. Now I can go to text size and do a plus. That moves it up one size. That moves everything. That makes everything bigger. It makes my icons bigger, what's underneath them bigger, and so on. And I can do, you can see, I can do up to 4 on this. Some sets, I noticed on some computers, you can even do more text sizes. On mine, you can do, and then you can make it smaller again. And it brings everything back, which is a lot easier than going to your settings, your settings, and doing it and keep going back into settings. That's the one nice thing I like about this program, Morphic. Now, the other thing that I like is the magnifier. And if we show that, that's something I can move around. Now, something I hadn't realized till I started playing with this. Let me go back, and I did show this in the video, but I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. But let's go to settings and settings and magnifier. Change magnifiers, zoom level. One thing you can do, you can change several things here, but the one thing I didn't realize you could do is you can change the lens size. You notice mine was fairly big. The default is 30 by 30, and I have mine set at 60 by 60. And you can actually make it go as much as 100 by 100 pixels. So it would make it very big, almost your entire screen. But then it's difficult for you when you move around. I think you really want to, I think 60 is a pretty good number. And so that's where I left it set. So when I open it from here, if I do the show, and I do it from here, it's 60 by 60. Now let's come down here and let's make it, let's see, 70. Let's make it 90. You can see it's already gotten bigger one way, and we'll make it 90 the other way, and it's almost the whole screen. So as I move it around, it's actually going off the screen. So we'll bring it back down to 60 by 60.
And one of the reasons I think this is very important, both for the presenter as well as the viewer at the far end, is since we're going to be zooming more, it is possible to miss a lot because unless you have an enormous screen, everything's so tiny. So it's helpful for the presenter to be cognizant of that and kind of sharpen his presentation using that feature when necessary. Or if he doesn't, then it's important for the viewer at the other end to know how to turn his magnifier on and be able to move it around the screen and magnify what he needs to get the most benefit, I think, out of the presentation. So that's just
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I was really impressed with Morphic. I did send them a little note that I did the presentation, and I got a note back from I think he's the CEO, or he's one of the people in charge there. And I haven't gotten back with him, but I'm going to try to do an interview with him and how they put this together, because it's totally free. It's Morphic. And something that I didn't do when I did the video is you can add your own items to to the menu, which I didn't show in the video. So I can actually set up, I can take a look at my Google Calendar just by clicking this. It opens up my Google Calendar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like the way you've set that up. I'm not familiar with Morphic. I'm definitely going to visit that site and download that app.
Yeah, I was really impressed with. Somebody did ask, is there a way to move the menu? By the way, if you don't use one that you put together, you just use their standard one, it actually puts it along the bottom. But there's no way to, and I'm going to mention this when I talk to them, that there's no way to move this around. And Dave Gerber asked, is there a way to move it to the other screen? You can't see my other screen, but when I move it off and move it over to the other screen, it just brings it back.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if I could maybe have it on the other screen, but it might not know then which screen to do it with. So, so anyway.
Thank you for that explanation. That's very helpful.
And I lost my place here, so let's go back to Hewie.net. And the WinSig. But that's what we're here for. If we don't get to everything, we don't get to everything. But if I can help and it helps you and everybody else, that's great. Okay, what happens if you turn your PC off during a Windows update? It always says, don't turn your computer off. Well, you know what? We get a lot of lightning strikes here in Florida, and we lose the power for sometimes 20 seconds, sometimes a minute, sometimes a lot of hours, but sometimes that happens. What do you do? You know, what happens what's going on with this? So let's take a look at this article. Again, I'll bring up try to make it bigger for you. The chances of things going wrong during a Windows 10 update installation are high, or any Windows update, even 11. One of the most frequent issues is a stuck update. What do we mean by updates getting stuck? When Windows Update is stuck, it either won't install or takes an unusually long time to install. If the Windows Update gets stuck, your first instinct is to power your computer off and try again. But Windows explicitly warns against turning off your PC when an update is installing. So, should you turn off your PC if Windows Update is stuck? Now, I'm going to answer what my answer to that before we look at the rest of this article. My answer is never turn it off unless it tells you to during an update. When you're doing an update, if it looks like it's stuck, it's just taking a long time, and it might take a day or two. But leave it. If it breaks while it's installing, you'll get an error message. So if it doesn't give you an error message, it's still working. Might be working mighty slow, but it's still working. So my advice to you is, if you can at all help it, don't touch it, long as it doesn't give you an error message saying it couldn't finish the install or the update or whatever. So let's take a look at the update process. Before Windows Vista, Microsoft released operating system updates as separate service packs so that you would have to install from a bootable media manually. The reason for doing so related to the underlying architecture of the Windows at that time. With Vista, Microsoft decided to shift its focus towards over-the-air, or OTA, updates through a process called Component Basis Servicing, CBS. This change in the updating strategy corresponded with the change in the underlying architecture of Windows Vista. Vista was built, I'll move that up a little bit, as a collection of self-sufficient components. Each part of the Windows experience that we are familiar with was a separate entity. And this architectural change has persisted in Windows 10. For instance, Windows Explorer is a separate component, just like Control Panel. CBS was aimed to stabilize the updating process by servicing each component separately. If something goes wrong during an update, CBS can restart the operating system and mitigate the errors and conflicts. So when you decide to install an update, CBS will check all the files to ensure that all component specific files and all core files are present. If all files are present, the CBS will start the installation process. Next, CBS installs all the necessary files and tools for Windows to work. This includes things like Windows Explorer, hardware drivers, and core operating system files. When all the necessary files are installed, CBS marks the process as complete, after which Windows boots up. This is where having a component-based servicing program makes the difference. The next time you boot up your PC after a successful or unsuccessful update, CBS will check if the process was complete. If it was marked complete, it will allow Windows to boot up normally. Otherwise, CBS will start cleaning the effects of the filed update. Let's say your PC is updating and it gets stuck. Contrary to the warning, you decide to turn off your computer to update at a later time. Now, the next time you start your computer, one of two things happens. One, CBS does its job and Windows starts regularly. Or two, Windows crashes and fails to start, or you come face to face with the blue screen of death, the BSOD. In the first case, CBS rolls back the update, reverses the update, and makes your PC just as it was done before the updating. So Windows boots normally. In the second case, CBS fails to roll back the update for several reasons, and the Windows fails to boot up. In theory, CBS should save your operating system during an unexpected power cut, but it doesn't always work. Windows needs core operating system files to work properly. If those files are not present or are corrupted during an update installation, CBS can't help, because CBS also needs those same Windows core files to work. And this is why Windows warns you not to turn your computer off during the installation of an update, because you never know when that updates, when it will update its core files. So the takeaway is you should never power off your computer when the Windows is installing updates. Doing so can result in core files being lost, which leads to Windows failing to boot. That said, if you pull the plug mid-update or have an unexpected power cut, chances are quite high that CBS will save the day. And even if CBS fails to save the day, you can still repair Windows manually by uninstalling updates. In the case of a blank screen where Windows doesn't do anything after a failed update, you can also recover your personal data, but the process will be a little more time consuming. And for those of you who are Chromebook people or are thinking about Chromebooks, the difference between Windows and Chromebooks is Chromebooks, and Ron Brown has a really good video on how this all works, better than any material I could find. But anyway, what Chrome does in a Chromebook, it makes a separate copy of the operating system first, and then when it's finished and you reboot, it takes the new one and boots from it. If there isn't a new one, it boots from the old one, and so you don't have this issue with the with a Chromebook. But anyway, getting back to Windows, what do you do if you do get a blank screen and nothing happens? Well, let's move that up a little bit here. As mentioned above, if updates don't install properly, you can get a BSOD, a blue screen of death. And by the way, and I understand in Windows 11, it's a black screen of death, or a blank screen. While the former is relatively easy to fix by troubleshooting, the latter requires you to take your hard drive out to recover your data. Wow. So if you're facing a blank screen with nothing displayed on the screen, take out your storage drive, connect it to another PC as an external drive, copy your data over to that PC. Now, how to wipe your hard drive while leaving the operating system intact. Next, format that external drive, put it back into your faulty PC, install a fresh copy of Windows on it. First, don't panic. Just restart your computer. Oh, what to do if the update is stuck? First, don't panic. Just restart your computer. Once CBS reverses all of the changes and Windows boots up, make sure you're to clear the old Windows update files. Clearing the old update cache ensures that all the bad update files are no longer present on your PC, and you can safely try updating once again. You can try to turn your computer off during an update, but you shouldn't. Windows displays the don't turn off your computer warning for a reason, from damaging the critical operating system files to sabotaging the update process. Pulling the plug is not wise. That said, if Windows Update is stuck or is taking too long to install, restarting your computer is fine. While the CBS system will roll back the update and revert to the previous version of Windows, in this case, you can always try updating again. Obviously, though, you won't know if you've got a successful rollback using the CBS until you've done it, and by then it's too late. So let's close this and do a stop share and see if there's any comments or questions. I always wondered about that. I always wondered if what happens, and sometimes when it gets stuck, I've had it where it's taken a couple of days to finish an update, but I've just let it go and it did finally finish. Stephen?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, this is where laptop computers are very beneficial. If the power goes out, you don't really lose power. Your battery's still there backing you up. And that's also true, of course, if you have battery backup for your desktop machine, but a lot of people don't. And if the power goes out, yeah, you may have lots of trouble. That's true. The other thing is, some beginners may think that the best way to reboot the whole thing is just simply to pull the plug. They need to learn, of course, by holding down the start key for 10 seconds or whatever it is. That also restarts the computer. It's very important to do that instead of just, disconnecting power.
Good point.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, put your hand down, Stephen, and we'll continue. Okay, let's go back to the WinSig items here. And how much RAM? How much RAM do you need in your computer? That's always a question I hear, and I found a pretty good article on this. And again, all of these articles, all you have to do is click and you go to the article. You can save them in any way you save things. I save them in Evernote. I go back into my Evernote. That's how I come up with my list of items that I'm going to cover. And this is from Dave's Computer Tips, and that is not Dave Gerber. This is another Dave. But this was a good article, and let's go ahead and look at it larger. And so, random access memory, or RAM. RAM, and that's the little memory sticks that you see here. RAM is an important and necessary component of any PC build. Without it, your computer won't run, much less run any software. Your computer does not run your programs from your drive. Your programs will only run once they've been loaded into memory. Now, how much RAM do you need? Now, remember, over the years, I've always described RAM and hard drive. A lot of people call both of them memory. So think of RAM as the brains and the hard drive is your storage, your file cabinets. So this is the brains of your computer. How much RAM do you need for Windows, for games, for productivity? And of course, how much RAM do you have installed? These are common questions that are asked by computer users who are always looking for ways to boost their system's performance. Whoops. And the correct answer is, it depends. This Windows 10 Quick Tips article will try to answer some of those for you. How much RAM is installed? How do you find out how much RAM? Well, go to your system, go to your settings, and go to System. Let's do that from mine. I don't mean to scare you when I do this. You go to System, and you go to, I think it's in About, you'll see right here, let's see, installed RAM. I have 64 gigabytes of RAM. Most of you do not. I just went high right from the beginning because my system would take it. Not all systems can. This one is showing, is showing 32 on it. Let's go ahead and show. Oh, I can't. This doesn't work that way. All right. I'm having a problem with the program and with the magnifier. They don't like to work together. So I can't do that. Anyway, you can see here, I think I can make the pictures bigger too. No, I can only go to 100%. Anyway, it's showing 32 gigabytes. And as you can see, there's 32 gigabytes of RAM in the system. That's quite a lot. Not too many years ago, this Dave recommended 4 gigabytes as a minimum. That recommendation now is moved upward of 8 gigabytes. So if your computer has less than 8 gigabytes of RAM and it's a Windows PC, you probably don't have enough RAM for it to work efficiently and quickly. Windows, any version, will run on a computer with 4 gigabytes of RAM. This is a bare minimum, however. It will run poorly. It'll run, but it'll run poorly. If you're the type of person who likes to run more than one program at a time, then a 4 gigabyte is going to get sluggish quickly. If your basic use of surfing the internet, checking your email, enjoying verbal intercourse with your friends on Facebook, then 4 gigabytes will probably be enough. To have more flexibility, then it's suggested that you add those extra 4 gigabytes for an actual total of 8 gigabytes. The differences in performance will be palpable. In other words, you'll be able to handle it. Now, how much RAM for productivity? Productivity is a broad term and usually refers to using your computer for work. Work is another broad term that can refer to anything from running a spreadsheet to editing video content. The former needs little RAM, while the latter requires much more. Spreadsheets, you can probably get away with as little as 4 gigabyte, but 8 gigabyte is recommended. Opening several productivity applications can eat up RAM like nobody's business. Video editing, you'll probably want at least 16 gigabytes. Now, how much RAM for gaming? 8 gigabytes will run on, many games will run with 8 gigabytes, but others, they want more than that. So if you experience sluggish gameplay, then RAM upgrade might be better to consider. But before you buy more RAM, computers are not created equal. Some motherboards allow support for more RAM than others. You'll have to check your computer's manual to find out how much RAM and what type is supported. You don't want to spend your hard-earned cash on RAM that you find that you can't use. Note, when you're shopping around for RAM, be sure to use memory sticks from the same brand with the same timings. Your computer will choose the timings from the slowest stick you install. So if you have a couple of sticks that are very slow and a couple that are very fast, it's only going to go as fast as the slower one. You'll also want to check which RAM is supported by your motherboard manufacturer. Your computer manual does not give you this information. If it doesn't, then use your favorite search engine to find out. Another thing you can do is some of the RAM manufacturers, some of the bigger ones, actually have charts that will tell you what you can use and what not, what the limits are, and whether you need 2 sticks or 4 sticks or more. And you also need to find out is if in your computer, do you have 2 slots or do you have 4 slots? And if you have 2 slots, are you using both slots or are you only using one? If you have 4 slots, are you using 2 slots or are you using all 4? And so that can make a difference in what RAM you're going to want to update and upgrade. If there is an old saying, unused RAM is wasted RAM. If you have 16 gigabytes of RAM installed and half of it is never used, then it's being wasted. You can see how your memory is being used because Windows will show you. So you use the Windows key R, the run, and then you want this phrase, and I'm going to close this off here a second and come down to the article. what I want to do is I'm going to copy that. So I want to take this, and I'm just going to do a Control C, and I've copied it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the Windows R key, Windows plus the R key. It opens this, and then I'm just going to paste in here, Control V, what I just copied from the screen. You can see that. And I say, okay, and it opens this up. Now let's go ahead and open the magnifier so you can see. And this is my computer, and now we're in the memory tab, and you can see I'm using 16% of my memory right now. If I had less memory, I'd be using obviously more. And if I was doing some other things, I would be using more. And you can see in here how much I'm actually using. And I'm using 11 gigabytes of the memory right now. Yours will show probably less, but I still have 53 gigabytes free or available. And it shows me down here how much is being used in green, and how much is modified, how much is standby, and then how much is free. And you can see this on your own computer by doing the same thing. So let's go ahead and get out of the magnifier, go back to the article, and come back here. This 130. So there's an old, let's see. So we're talking about unused RAM, and you saw what it looked like on mine. You can see what it looks like here. The light blue area marked as free is not being used in this example. It will be, though, if Windows keeps filling up with cached files. This is a good thing that Windows does. From the time I grabbed the above screenshot, this was the guy in this article, to now the free RAM is dropped 10 gigabytes. Standby RAM has increased to 58 or 5 gigabytes. In-use RAM is one that you want to watch. If it never fills up, then you have more than enough installed for what you do. So if I started opening up my video editor and so on, I can end up using a lot of that 64 gigabytes that I'm using. A lot of times I'll have Camtasia open doing video editing. I'll have a PowerPoint presentation open. I'll be online with some other things. I'll have several things. So I'm using a lot of my RAM, and I may have a lot of different tabs open in my browser, which again is using a lot of that RAM. So you can read more about the page file, some things about page file here, and free RAM just went to 1 megabyte. So, okay, so that's the end of that article. So before we go to the next article, see any comments? Did I lose anybody on this? I hope not. There's a little bit deeper than we a lot of times go into, but I thought these were a couple articles I thought were, a lot of questions get asked about RAM, and a lot of times if you don't understand what the RAM is and what you need for yours, then you need to have a service person take care of that. I'm not a hardware person, so I would have to go to somebody and say, okay, take a look at my RAM. What do I need? And they would see, okay, I have 2 slots and I'm using one of them, or I got 2 slots and I've got 232 gigabytes. So that's my 64 gigabyte, or I could have 4 slots and they could be in 16s. So it all depends on what your system is and so on. Bob?
Question is, when I get asked that question is, I have 8 gigs or I have 16 gigs, but my computer is still slow. Do I have to add more RAM? No, change to an SSD drive, and you will have a computer like you never thought you had a computer before. So speed sometimes is not the amount of RAM. It depends on the slowest part of your computer. And if you're still using an old IDE hard drive, your upgrade should be to an SSD, solid state drive.
And what a solid state drive is, it's like the memory sticks that you're using in RAM.
Correct.
It's a stick. It's not a physical drive that goes around like the hard drives that we've been used to over the years. It's actually electronic, they're chips. And so it works much quicker, much faster. And that could be your problem. It could be that you've got programs that are using up your RAM as well, or just slowing down your system. Or it could be that you have a virus that just is doing some things in the background too. So you want to check a lot of different things. Dick Vogel, question or comment? Don't forget to unmute.
Yes, you can reach that same display or display your memory by going to Task Manager and using the Performance task.
Yes.
Performance tab.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get to a lot of those things. You're absolutely correct.
Hewie?
Yeah,
Hey,
Bob.
Hewie?
Yes,
Yeah.
Bob.
This is an SSD.
Yep, the SSDs now can be about the same size as the old memory RAM chips. Yep.
That's a
amazing.
250 gig SSD right there.
Wow. And if you drop it, it's not like dropping a hard drive.
That's true.
Stephen.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that, although SSDs are typically much more expensive than the older ones. And so sometimes you have to sacrifice, getting a smaller drive that's less expensive. The other thing, and you just mentioned really important, I think a lot of people don't realize when their computer is downloading updates. And they'll think that the computer's slow and it's a computer problem and they don't know what's going on. There is a way, of course, you can, if you've got a meeting coming up where you need to display something, it's a good idea to either delay the updates for 7 days, which you can do in settings, or you can, well, I guess that's probably the best thing to do your update before the meeting ahead of time, do the last update, so that it's not doing it during the time that you're trying to give some kind of presentation. I've had that happen numerous times until I figured out what was going on in the background.
Yeah, and one way, of course, you could do that is opening up the task manager and see what's going on. But
Right.
yeah, a lot of times the updates go on in the background. You don't know they're going on, and it's downloading and it's slowing your system down tremendously.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely. Another thing, before presentations, you should always go into your system and turn off a lot of things that are running in the background that you don't need during your presentation. Donna? Donna, your hand is up. Unmute yourself and ask away or make your comment.
I'm sorry, I forgot about unmute. I have a laptop. How do I know if there's enough room to put more RAM in? That's what I don't know. Do I have more slots to put RAM in like a laptop?
Don't have to have more slots. You can exchange that one slot if all you have is one and put in a larger RAM chip.
But in a lot of the laptops, those it's not accessible by the end user. You've got to take
Right.
it to somebody. But so how do you find out what you've got in it is, I think, what she's asking. And there are some programs out there.
I'm okay. I know I have eight gigabytes of RAM or whatever. So that I know. It's just that if I wanted to make it 16, I don't know that I have another slot or if I can even do it on the laptop.
Yeah, Mike, you've used some of the program. Mike Ungerman, are you still on? You've used some of the programs that tell you what's in your system. Do any of those tell you how many slots you have and how many are being used? Or does
Speccy,
anybody else? Speccy?
Speccy is good for that. And also, if you go to Crucial as one of the memory suppliers, they have an app that you can download to your computer that's very good at identifying what memory's in your system and how many slots you may have.
Okay, let's
What was
Hewie,
Donna?
What
Okay,
was- Mike of the second one, the company?
Crucial,
Crucial.
Like-
Okay.
something is very crucial in life.
Hewie.
yes, Bob.
Hi, it's Mark Schulman.
Oh,
There
Mark, okay.
there is a built-in command line command that will tell you how much RAM you have, how many slots you have, and how much memory in each slot.
Do you know what that is offhand?
I have it in my documentation. I'll put it in chat in just a second. I need to look it up.
Okay. While you're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'll come back to Bob and Jolin in a minute. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to come here. I don't know if you know that's a neat trick when you go to your files, click on one of the letters and then go down to, I want to go to S and Speccy and then open up Speccy. And let's see if it's going to let do this. Yep. And it's now looking at everything here. And it tells me the RAM. Let's look at the RAM and it tells me I have 2 memory slots and I'm using 2 memory slots. And I have
want to
64.
magnify that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. And I know how to do that. Shows the mouse right in the middle of it there. So I'll try to move it where mouse is out of the way. So you can see there's 2 memory slots. I've used 2 slots, so I don't have any free slots. And it shows that I'm using 18% of my memory and I have 64. And so I have 52 available. Total of 73 virtual. And and I have 2 SPD modules, and one in slot 1, one in slot 2. And let's come down here and see what happens when I click on that. Oh, it tells me actually what kind. Wow, tells me a lot of information, doesn't it? That's slot 1 only. It does go bigger here. Let's see what we go. It shows you all kinds of things you don't need to know about. And then come down to the next one. Wow, look at all that information it tells you. And I can't begin to understand what it's telling me or what it's, but somebody might be able to tell you, or at least you'll have that information. You'll look like you know what you're doing when you go to the Best Buy geeks or whoever your repair people are to whether you want to upgrade or not. That they'll know what you're talking about when you say that. Well, you got DDR4 2666 1333 megahertz. It even gives me the serial number of the memory. Wow. And it was made in the 20th week of 2020. So that's interesting. So
Perfect.
that's
Thank you.
Speccy.
Thank you very much.
And that's a free and by that's a free program. And if I go to help and about,
one of the programs I'll be mentioning in my presentation.
Yeah, it's part of C Cleaner.
Which is part of Avast.
Which is part of Avast. Okay, great. All right. Let's go back and stop sharing here. And Bob, you had your hand up, I think, and then Jolin.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bob Delvito.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Hewie, one of the other problems a lot of people, you didn't mention, a lot of people saying their machine's running real slow. That's when I wrote a 4-part batch file that'll clean up the machine. Very easy to use. And I've seen improvements from 2 to 3 minutes on startup to 10 to 15 seconds after it's running.
Wow, that's right. You did have that.
I can stop. Well, I sent it to you. When I sent it to you, it was command line, but I've since put it into a batch file, into a 4-part batch file, and it's really easy to run. If you like, I can send it off to you and with the instructions on how to run it.
Okay, and I can add it somehow to the video notes, or I'm not sure how I can get it out to everybody, but I'll find a way to do it.
And Bob, what does it stop running at startup?
It's not stopping. It's what it's doing is a lot of disk cleanup. And it's doing a very thorough disk cleanup, not the one that when you go to properties and control panel and do the disk cleanup that way. It doesn't get all of the stuff that Microsoft loves to leave behind. This cleanup gets 27 different areas. So I've seen sometimes get 30 plus gigabytes worth of junk that.
And this is clean, this is safe to run on an SSD?
Oh, yeah. And with the other steps, the steps 2, 3, and 4 are optimization. And if you try to run them on an SSD, it automatically switches right to trim mode. So it'll trim it.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. We'll look forward to that. Jolyn?
Yeah, getting back to the how do you tell what's on your machine? I have for years gone back to the manufacturer's website and actually look at my machine's the listing and get the information from the manual and what the machines are capable of as far as whether or not it will take more RAM. So that's just an alternate way to find out what's in your machine and what's compatible and if you can update it or not by adding RAM.
Many people don't even know what machine they have.
That's when they come to people like us who can help them get and find that out.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If Bob, if you'd put your hand down.
Just Hewie, one thing. A lot of people ask about information on their machine. If you go into the search box and just type system information, it brings up a detailed explanation from of everything that's on your machine, including the BIOS born on date.
So you come down here to the bottom and you type in system
Information. There you go. Click on that.
It's right there. And it's an app that's
Yeah.
part of Windows.
There you
And
go.
There's all your information.
And you can see what kind of hard drives you have if you click on hardware resources on the upper left. Nope, wait a minute. Components, sorry. And storage. And disks. There you go.
Yep. I have one fixed disk and it is an SSD card. SSD drive. Let's see, local. Does it tell me that it's SSD? I don't think it does. No. But my C drive is a 4 terabyte SSD. Just says it's fixed. It doesn't say, so you don't know what type it is. You can look it by the model number and then do a search to find what type it is. Okay, so this is a good way, or if you just go to the summary, you can see a lot of information here as well.
Yeah.
And again, let me get the magnifier here. You see over here on the left, I was looking at this area. But this is just under system summary. As I move down, you can see that it gives all kinds of information. And this, again, is all part of Windows. You don't have to go and install anything else. And it does say that I've got 64 gigabytes of RAM. It doesn't tell me how many sticks I have or anything here. Let's see if it does when I look at components. And let's see, hardware resources, conflicts, memory. Oh, too much information. TMI. All right, so I'm not sure whether that would tell you how many slots you have and how many are full. Let's see, I gotta get and hide. Okay, so there are different ways you can tell. That was a good question. Thank you. I'll stop to share again, see if there's any other comments. again, this is kind of deep for some of you who are not into the hardware end of it or are not into some of this, but some of the people here are that can help answer, and you may be able to now ask the right questions to those people who help you.
Huey, I think when you were looking at the hard drive it's further down, I think I saw something SD just before you clicked off that it did
Okay.
say it was a
An SSD drive, yeah.
SD drive. Maybe. I wasn't sure. Went away
No,
real
no,
fast.
because I've got an SD card in this machine too.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Screen again. How we doing on time? We're doing good. I don't want to take Bob's time. So let's see back here. We didn't get too far, did we? Data transfer to a new PC. I'm going to skip that for right now. The PowerToys, I've made mention of them before. I think I'm going to do a video on some of these. There are some new updates to the PowerToys and a change log of what they are. But what I want to show you is we'll actually minimize this, and I'm going to come over here and I install the PowerToys. So let's take a look at the menu. As soon as it comes up, 64 gigabytes of RAM doesn't speed things up sometimes. Come on. Now let's do it again. There we go. Okay, so here is the menu for the PowerToys, but there are several. There's a color picker. If those of you who work with graphics or video and you want to match colors, what you do is you bring the color picker up, and by hitting your Windows Shift C, you can then pick a color up. So if I hit Windows Shift C, it brings this up. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I got the menu here and I don't want that. Let's do it again. Windows Shift C. You can see as I move this around, it changes the number there, and that's the color that it's finding underneath it. So if you ever need to know what color to match colors in something, so let's see that color. And if I click it, it then gives me even more information about it. So a color picker is kind of neat. But the image resizer is one that I have a program I purchased, and this does just as well. You can enable it by turning it on. So when you right mouse click, you can resize as well, but you can resize to small, medium, large, and then you can actually create some of your own sizes. So I said, well, what if I want an icon with somebody's picture on it at 50 by 50 pixels? That's just really small. So let's see if I can, let's see, I forgot to set up a picture to use for this. So let's grab a picture if I can really quickly. I'm trying to think where I got to go to do that. Over here, and we'll go to probably presentations. We'll go to one of my pictures. A headshot with headphones. So we'll bring this one up. And there's a picture of me. And this picture at 100% is 640 by 637. And so what I want to do is we'll move it over here. And I'm going to right mouse click. And let's see if the PowerToy is here. Resize picture, because I turned that on. I do this. It brings up the image resizer that's part of the PowerToy, and I can select whatever size I want to make it. So if I want to make that 50 by 50, a really tiny, tiny picture, and tell it to resize it, it just did. And if I open that up, you can see it's 50 pixel by 50 pixel. And let me turn the magnifier on. So you can see it's don't forget we're magnifying it, and you're getting a lot of pixels in small, so it's pixelating because I'm making it bigger, but it's really a very clear picture, making it that small. So it's using the image resizer from PowerToys is very handy if you need it for that sort of thing. What else do we have? There's there's a rename. You can rename a whole bunch of files. You can do it at one fell swoop. You can do autocomplete. You can have it rename a whole bunch and put numbers after them and so on. So there's several things that you can do with the PowerToys. This is free. It's from Microsoft. And
Huey,
yes,
just,
Bob.
just to point out, EarthInView, which is the program you use to display those pictures, has that feature built in to resize.
Yes, it does, and I've used that. But I have found that using either the image resizer program that I purchased or this one really does a nicer job than EarthInView. It doesn't pixelate it as much, but it's a personal thing. But yes, there are several programs that do that. But the fact is that this way you don't have to purchase one, or you don't have to use a program that you don't have. You just install the PowerToys. Okay, any other comments, questions? We're getting there. Let's see what else I can add here. Sure. And let's see. Oh, I got to bring up a minute. There we go. And come back here. I think as a final item, there's a lot of things in Windows 11 I'm not even getting to. I did want to talk about the Windows 11 voice typing, but I really don't have time to do that. But I thought I'd throw something out, especially to those of you who are in user groups where you like to do drawings. I found this website, which I think is really neat. You can put any number of names or whatever you want here. So you can have a whole list. So let's, I had a list and I didn't get it ready, but let's go ahead and just add some more. We'll say Bob and Hewie. You can see them being added to this, and you could even put you could put a website on there, an email address or whatever. And then when you get all your names there, you just click the button. And then you can remove that name. If you're going to do it again, that name gets removed, and then you do it again. So that person is eliminated from the group, or you don't have to do that if you want them. Oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Oh, but Ollie won. Yeah, we'll close it. Anyway, it's a way to do a drawing. There used to be a way in which you could highlight all of the names in the participants list in Zoom, and then you could have dropped them in, but you can't do that anymore. So somebody'd have to be fast typing it or somehow to get all the names that are on a Zoom meeting. But that would be where if you had your registration, you just take your registrations, drop them in. But I did, I think 30 or 40 names. It makes them really tiny, but it finds a winner. So just something to help you out. Another way in which you can do drawings is just do a random number and a randomizer. And I think you can do that just by hitting Google and saying random. And I think it brings it up, and you can put in how many numbers and say, let's say right now we got 58 people online. I could put 58, hit the randomizer, and then go down the list of participants, whatever number it is, and that would be it. So, somebody's got their microphone on, and it was feeding back. Okay. Anyway, Bernie, question.
Yes. that would be great for picking door prizes for your club group. And is that available in Windows 10?
It's a website, wheelofnames.com. And that link is in my WinSig notes, and it's right here, Wheel of Names, random name picker. When you click it, it opens it up, takes you right to it. And there is, and I'll copy it and I'll put it into the everyone in the meeting and put it in the chat box.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 2:44, which is the end of our meeting, and we'll get ready. Stan, are you online? I got to make you let's see, is Stan here? There's Stan. Make him a co-host. Is he awake? Calling Stan Wallner, calling Stan Wallner. Stan is the president of CFCS, and I normally turn over the meeting to him and say, this has been the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSig, for Sunday, October 10th, 2021. I'm Hewie Poplock. I'm glad you joined us. We'll see you next month. Stay tuned for the main meeting of the CFCS following this meeting.